everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Sasha in Style, or we might say 안녕하세요, 여러분. So this episode is going to be on BTS. My older sister is kind of a BTS pro. She was one of their speakers at the first...
It's the first global interdisciplinary conference on BTS that happened in January of this year, 2020.
And so she's also a published writer in a couple of academic works. Her undergrad was English at Tufts. She was the administrator for the Positive Psychology Graduate Program at Penn.
My resume.
And I gotta hype you up a little bit. And she graduated last year from USC's graduate program in...
Game Design for Health.
Yeah, so she was actually the first one in their pilot program to complete the focus on health. So she's been kind of working in this past year talking about BTS and psychology and health. And that was what her speech was about back in London. So congrats to you, Sydney. We kind of got to show your credentials. So she's a BTS pro. I'm a bit of a newbie. I've been introduced to BTS in 2018 and I've been a casual fan since then. Both of us are somewhat multilingual. I'm fluent in Japanese, she's studying Korean, I took Korean 101, so it's very interesting how media sort of persists to this day to be a gateway to learning about other cultures and other languages as well. Totally. And BTS has been definitely a global influence for many people who are interested in fashion and people who are interested in Korean culture, and it's definitely caused a surge in people learning the language as well. So we love that. We love what they do for the culture. So what I like most about BTS is that they're really changing global mindsets about what a boy band is. They're definitely rejuvenizing, not rejuvenizing.
Rejuvenating?
They're definitely rejuvenating the boy band structure as well. We were both 90s babies. I was 97, she was 91. So we grew up listening to Backstreet Boys, NSYNC. So it's very cool to see boy bands emerging in Korea. It's really a huge industry, multi-million-dollar industry. And BTS has definitely used their influence for good within the fashion industry, and they've been acknowledged by some of the top brands, the top houses.
And I'll say, like, you know, I'm not a fashion expert. I'm sort of I love fashion, I love style.
She is fashionable though. She's my big sister. Everything I know, she taught me.
Not everything, but thank you. I think that BTS uses fashion the way that they use all other aspects of sort of their art form and their expression, which is for communication. You know, I actually have learned more about fashion through them also, just by being in the fandom. Some people pay very close attention to their fashion, everything that they wear, no matter what it is. And you get to see it in the different contexts. You get to see it in their casual choices, their everyday choices, what they're wearing to rehearse, what they're wearing on stage, what they're wearing in fashion shoots. I mean, everything. There's so much to talk about. I have a million tabs open. We were not gonna get to everything, but we're gonna try our best.
We're gonna crack into it, definitely. Well, thank you so much for the introduction. I'm very excited to be covering the subject with a pro and my first guest star on the channel. So what are we gonna dive into first?
Well, I thought that a really good starting point would be the, infamous Dior stage outfits. So, I mean, I wanted to start there because this, was really, it sort of made fashion news. That Kim Jones of Dior was going to design these stage outfits for BTS's most recent stadium tour, Love Yourself, Speak Yourself. And it was the first time that Dior as a house was designing something for a band.
Yes, definitely. I would say objectively in the fashion industry, the haute couture houses, they don't do a lot with costume. There is a lot of haute couture in costuming. However, those big houses, Versace, Dior, don't generally have a focus on costume design. It's a little bit more looked down on in the fashion world, which is actually quite interesting because costume design can be just as time intensive and laborious as well. So they're really making history being the first ones. Being designed for by Dior. Fancy boys.
Yeah.
You gotta love them.
It was covered by a lot of fashion outlets. This was especially highlighted in the rap line performance of Outro Tears. So highlighting the 3 rappers in the group, and then as a full group after that for the mic drop song.
What's going to be a constant theme throughout this episode is that BTS as a group has an emphasis on variations of a theme, so they'll all have costumes that have some sense of unity to them, but they'll be highlighting different parts of their personality or style. So they're all going to fit a cohesive theme, but it's going to be 7 variations on a theme, which I think is kind of quintessential for the boy band. Of course, it's super elevated because it's Dior and because they've got all these great Korean, American, international designers working for them. And Cindy made a really great point that they do have to design for performance, for being outdoors as well. I really like that the style has almost like an army, almost like gun holster strap on the chest as well. It's a little bit military themed, and that's kind of cool because 방탄소년단 means bulletproof Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Of course, I flubbed it a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool that they play with that aesthetic as well.
And I love the utility look in general.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's just my preference. I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got, variations on a theme. One of them's wearing a jean jacket, or kind of like, it's not even jean material. What material is that?
I'm not sure, but it's definitely structured like a jean jacket. Like, you can see how in the sketch. So I think that was Jimin's outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got the 2 bomber jackets as well, which are printed in kind of like an army fatigues.
From one stage outfit, we could go to talking about some other stage outfits, which actually you've seen before. So we recently watched the DVD for the Love Yourself concert in Seoul, which happened in 2018.
Yeah.
Some of these outfits that they were using, especially during the title song medley, when they were performing DNA, when they were performing Airplane Part 2.
Yes. One of my favorites.
Yeah. Sort of like, in a way, it's sort of the peak of the concert. I just think these jackets are really fun, and I also wanted to know what you thought about all these different looks.
What we see is the same variations on the theme. They don't seem, at least to me, as cohesive. However, every single singer has his own sort of treatment of shiny fabrics. So we have sequins, rhinestones, lame as well. So all of their jackets and their shirts shine in a different way. We've got some fringe on the jacket as well. That's very
so fun,
cowboy inspired. And that's really cool because another thing you have to take into consideration when designing for stage is the lighting, the set design. And so these outfits really, really sparkle in the light, which is great because they are dancers. So it's really cool how it encapsulates a festive sort of vibe. None of them look the same except for the fact that they're all wearing leather pants. We love that.
Yeah.
We love that. What are your thoughts on it?
So yes, they're not as cohesive as I guess some of the other things have been. And that actually is because this is not all the same designer. So oftentimes you will see BTS in the same designer, all wearing things maybe from the same collection, which makes it a lot easier to do that variation on a cohesive theme.
Yeah.
But here, I know 2 of these jackets were done by Minju Kim, who is the Korean designer who just won Next in Fashion on Netflix. Or not just, I'm like late to the show.
It's okay. We're like, production was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Hollywood is a mystery.
And then the other thing that I personally really wanted to point out about these stage outfits is that 2 of them are actually directly from the concept photos, which were from the Love Yourself Answer album, version S, which is actually my favorite, I think probably my favorite concept photo collection that they've ever done.
Okay.
So
you're definitely hyping it up. Let's take a look at it.
All right. You can see that Jimin and RM are wearing the same tops or like the same jacket that they did on stage.
Yes.
And actually those ones in particular are really interesting. Fans were really quick to point out that the top is very reminiscent of a top that actually Michael Jackson wore from Jimin. And then the jacket is a pretty direct reference to Elton John. It's a modern piece that was I think it's from an Elton John collection from a fashion house.
Well, they're definitely almost self-referential to the music industry. I love how they're kind of paying homage to pop kings before them.
Yeah.
I mean, BTS fans, the ARMY, they are like they could work for the FBI.
We are the detectives. We are the army detectives.
It's
true.
You know, there's like there's entire Twitter accounts devoted to kind of dissecting what they wear, the influences, things like that. And these things drop rather quickly.
Yeah.
They drop really, really quickly. It's not like months after the pictures drop that they're like, oh, is this sort of like Elton John's? No, they are quick to it.
We are just ready to read into everything.
Yeah.
We zoom in on, well, that's another story.
This is a family show. But that's kind of great because that really gives great value to their fans because it gives them something to unpack. It gives them a deeper meaning as well. So people who are very much into BTS and people who are passionate about BTS, they're kind of putting in the thought and the research to give to their fans, and then their fans are unpacking it in turn as well.
And it really shows their attention to detail. So Jungkook's jacket, if you zoom in, you can see the patch that says 1984. And that's really thematically consistent with this entire concept photo collection. So you can see that they're under surveillance. You have these TVs, and it's just, ooh,
I lost my tab.
here we go. This whole vibe and mood of like they're being watched. It's a little bit dystopian, and they're also sort of putting on a show. So you see in the details of some of the other outfits, like you almost get a circus vibe, right? These colorful frills, and then of course this is from the album where the title track was Idol, and even though that song is like really energetic and really happy, you know, maybe there's this other side of being a celebrity, being in the spotlight, you know, some of the individual photos where, you know, you have the hands and the eyes, people just want a piece of them.
Yeah, it's a commentary on fame as well. You can see that idols, they do seem to be almost commodified, you know, social media is more accessible than ever. Things can spiral out as well, and I think their commentary on fame is very timely as well, because it is something that affects them, and I think that it's good on them to be self-aware about it as opposed to pretending that it's not going on.
Right. And as fans, it's our responsibility to make sure we're not crossing a line.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Which hasn't really existed before. I feel.
That awareness?
Yeah, that awareness. And I think that it's really great that they're paying homage to previous idols and you know, pop superstars like Michael Jackson, Elton John before them, because they did pave the way, and you know, they walked so BTS could run.
Yeah. Do you get a Bowie vibe?
I do kind of get a Bowie vibe.
Sasha's a big David Bowie fan.
I miss Bowie. Oh
Yeah.
my god. Labyrinth is one of my top favorite movies ever. Of course, it's not really in theme for him, but I love me some Bowie. Okay, the framing changed a little bit because we had to change cameras. Please bear with us.
So I was talking about Bowie.
Yes.
And I think what's interesting about those sort of references, they're emulating, but in their own way, and also just like the way BTS does things in general, bending these gender expectations, which is obviously very Bowie. And especially like, I mean, these concept photos are a really great example of that. Even J-Hope's sort of like half shorts, half skirt sort of thing that he's got on. There's some androgyny, there's references to, you good, fam?
Yes.
Okay.
It was bothering me.
And then you also see it in like Jin's heeled shoes and stuff like that. So
oh my god, he's wearing Tabi shoes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, people, okay, so little quick sidebar here. People, maybe back in this like winter, January, they were hating on the Tabi shoes. They thought they were so ugly.
Is that what they're called? I didn't even know.
Yeah, so the Tabi shoe and like the Tabi, it's like based on the Tabi sock, which is a traditional Japanese garment of clothing, so they can wear it with geita, which are traditional Japanese sandals. So when people were like, oh, this is so ugly, why does it look like a camel's foot? I was like, it's in Japanese culture.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really cool. It's like, it's a disco Tabi boot. It's in like a metallic silver.
Yeah. And then Jin actually wore this outfit just for fun while they
Uh-huh.
were, I think it was when they were going to shoot a music show.
Yeah.
And usually people, like, they just show up in their, like, casual clothes. And he was decked out in this outfit from the concept photos.
Nice.
Just to, like, make people happy. So I think the next thing that we should touch on is a little bit of red carpet fashion.
Yeah.
And so one of the biggest red carpet moments for BTS was the first time they made an appearance at the Grammys. And this is just another instance of when BTS is using fashion to communicate something and actually like using it not just for aesthetics. They basically made the news when they showed up at the Grammys red carpet for the first time, you know, wearing some really sharp tuxedos. They look totally together, like as a group, you know, and it's sort of a classic Grammys thing, you know,
Definitely.
very formal. But what actually came out is that these tuxedos were designed by South Korean designers. So they didn't go for a big Western name, you know, they really used this opportunity of them in the spotlight, making history really as the
Definitely.
first South Korean artist to present at the Grammys, to
Yes.
attend the Grammys. And they used it as a moment to really show their pride as Koreans.
I really like that as well because it gives exposure to these smaller
Right.
Korean designers as well, and I feel as though they really did make the most of their time at the Grammys. You know, I think a lot of what BTS faces in the Western world is, even though they are gaining traction and attention, a lot of people do dismiss them because they're mainly Korean speakers.
Right.
A lot of people are sort of adverse to wanting to read something with subtitles, which, you know, never really made any sense to either of us. I grew up for many years. A part of how I learned to be fluent in Japanese was watching anime in Japanese with subtitles. It is something for them to own their nationality, to own their ethnicity, and show up and say, this is who we are. There is sort of a double standard within the music industry and the fashion industry where if you can't speak English, then they won't really give you the time of day. Now, Namjoon oppa.
Oh my god.
I had to do it for the camera. Namjoon stands. Where are you at? So Namjoon, or Rap Monster RM, which is his stage name, learned English by watching Friends in English. So he's, they're pretty much fluent. The only person in BTS who is fluent in English. So he's sort of their Western spokesperson.
Yeah.
And the other group members have picked up some English as well, but I feel like there should be more of a conversation about pressuring people to speak English in order to be taken seriously in the music industry and furthermore the fashion industry as well.
Yeah.
So
And their songs as well. They have, you know, bits of English usually in the chorus and stuff like that sort of sprinkled in. But, you know, and they always get this like awkward question in interviews of like, are you doing an all English album? Like, well, why should they?
Why should they?
Yeah.
You know, you don't go to somebody like, you don't go to Charlie Puth, for example, and say like, when are you going to do an album in Russian? You know, it's kind of a global double standard. Like, yes, you do have to speak English in order in some ways to, you know, get your foot in the door. But now that they have such worldwide fame, you know, they are very gracious considering the pressure that they're under. And when they see fit to do an English album, sure, but I think there's something to be said about them making it this far and being international superstars, not having to divorce their art from their mother tongue as well. But that's also cool that they're not doing, you know, bespoke fashion or like ready to wear fashion from all one house. They're kind of switching it up as well, but you wouldn't suspect it. You wouldn't suspect it at all.
And I've also heard BTS choose what they want to wear. They don't take, what would you call it?
The stylist?
No, I mean, they definitely have stylists. But they don't take, they don't accept deals from luxury brands. Basically, they're wearing what they want to wear and they pay for what they want to wear. So, you know, it's sort of been reported that if you're a designer and, you know, you would love to see BTS wearing your stuff, you sort of just have to hope that they like it and choose it. They're in control of the message that they're sending through fashion. So, I mean, I really wanted to point out like that special moment at the Grammys. those suits are actually now at the Grammy Museum on
Yes.
display in their red carpet exhibit. So it really shows like what a significant moment that was.
And some of those brand collaborations, it's true. Like if you're, you know, in a partnership with Versace or something, Versace will be dressing you for all of your runways.
Right.
I think that is a smart business move because there's 7 of them, and they have to reach a consensus on how they want to represent themselves as well.
I mean, maybe one day they'll wear Fila on the runway, so that's the only...
That's another thing. They used to be Puma models, now they're Fila models. So what I really love is that BTS has a lush fan culture as well, and they give a lot to the fans for
You'll
them
never
to
be bored.
Yeah, you got a lot to sink your teeth into. So it's really a great, very positive fandom to be a part of.
So that being said, BTS do often also wear Western designers. And you do see, well, I mean, listen, I just really want to talk about Saint Laurent.
Yeah, let's talk about Saint Laurent.
Because
Let's talk about it.
I mean, in my opinion, like these are some of my favorite sort of red carpet group looks are from Saint Laurent, and even on stage too. So speaking of the Grammys, when they performed at the Grammys for the first time with Lil Nas X, they were all wearing Saint Laurent, and I thought it was really well done, really fun, and really appropriate for the stage. So.
Yeah. Criminally short, by
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
BTS's segment is criminally short. I'm just gonna throw my opinion out there.
Oh, I mean, obviously ARMY agrees with you, you know, like, BTS have done so much to deserve their own stage.
Definitely.
But, you know, I think they made the best of the situation. They were invited, like, I think kind of last minute. I think it was like 2 weeks before the show, and they got invited to be a part of this stage. And, I mean, you know, it was historic in a way anyway, because, you know, now they're the first definitely South Korean maybe to perform on the Grammy stage. I think that was really great, and I love the looks here.
Yeah.
I mean, like...
They seem very gracious working together as well. Maybe like Lil Nas can be an adjunct 8th member of BTS.
Oh my god.
He'd have to learn
He
Korean
needs to
though.
get at the end of the line. There's so many people trying to be the 8th member. I think these looks were really appropriate. They weren't too formal. They weren't too casual. They weren't too yee-haw.
Yes.
But, you know, they still have, like, the references to that, you know, like the denim jacket. I thought they looked really good with what Lil Nas X was wearing.
Yeah. They have the Americana style as well, without it kind of being too campy. If they were all like dressed up in like yee-haw, Western kind of stuff, it would seem kind of cheesy. So I'm glad that BTS did their own thing and kind of kept it understated. I really loved the striped jean jacket. It reminded me of Beetlejuice.
Oh yeah, Suga's jacket.
Suga's jacket
Is really great. I mean, I am a Taehyung bias. And like that's just like one of his
We found out her bias.
Well, now we know.
Now we know.
RMV. So that's just like one of his best looks ever. And yeah, it's just great.
Yeah.
And somehow it still all like came together.
Yeah.
And it was just like really fun.
Yeah, like they have the kind of moody blue lighting as well. It played off their outfits really well. Of course, you've got Lil Nas in this entire like holographic diamondy onesie as well, with like the, you know, that's his thing. And talk about, I think that it kind of is complimentary that they are performing together, because BTS are revolutionaries in their own way. You know, Lil Nas is one of the first kind of people to bring back country in a very fun, viral way. Of course, his new material is a little different. Like Panini is kind of a dystopian Tron type theme.
Well, that's a really good point, because like I think it comes back to the question of like, you know, genre being kind of meaningless these days. Like it doesn't mean what it used to. But people are still like sort of clinging to genres because it makes things easier or whatever it is. But genre is also really used to keep people in boxes. And it was totally true for Lil Nas X, and it's absolutely true for BTS as well. I mean, you know, I'm not trying to get into a is BTS K-pop conversation, because that's like way too much. If you just look at BTS's music and you try to think about like, okay, well, there's hip hop, there's EDM, there's pop, there's R&B, there's Latin pop.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they do all of these different genres, and they're very hard to categorize.
Yes, definitely, because now they're a global brand. I think people fall back on the term K-pop quite frequently. And just because the music is produced in Korean does not mean that it's, you know, solely Korean pop. Or the only way that they can identify themselves for the future in the industry and in the music industry as well. So definitely I agree with what you say, because genre is much more elastic these days. People are not paying as much attention to them, which is definitely a great service, because everyone loves great music.
Right.
Let them make great music.
And it's ironic that we're having this conversation after
Yeah.
watching a clip from the Grammys,
Yeah.
because, I mean, talk about categorizing things and genre and, like, you
Wait
know,
a minute.
yeah, like, so, you know, the performance worked, you know, sort of on that level for those reasons, but then, like, obviously there's the bigger context of, like, well, this is happening at the Grammys, and what are the Grammys doing to try and stay relevant versus, you know, obviously holding on really tightly to some of their older ideas about genre and categorization.
Lil Nas is featured in this performance because he had a huge viral hit.
Right.
And people do want to stay relevant. You know, I can't blame them for that. Everybody wants to be relevant within the industry. Even though they were only a short segment of this, they made the most of their time.
Yeah,
they
totally.
really did. They did shine, even though Lil Nas was shinier.
I was really proud of them. I thought it was really great.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. When I first discovered BTS, this was back in early 2018. So I'm.
And
like,
she told me immediately.
I told everyone.
She told
immediately.
everyone immediately. I was bumping DNA like the next day.
Definitely one of the first things I paid close attention to was the clothes, was the styling. And I feel like I became inspired and started incorporating different things into my own wardrobe, like almost immediately. So, I mean, this is sort of an example. Like, I love the mesh underneath the button down with the jacket on top. Actually, it was in, I'll show you the picture. We were in Florida.
Yes. Oh my God.
And
when
I
we
tried
went out
to
to
recreate
dinner.
that. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
So that was literally me trying to recreate this look.
I didn't. It all makes sense. I was literally with her that night.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait.
Do you remember?
Wait a minute. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do remember that. Wow.
So that's another thing I like about
The influence, the
looks
power.
Like, yeah, and also looks like this. You know, it's not so complicated that you couldn't recreate something like that. And it's also not so, you know, I mean, obviously I'm a woman and like I have a feminine wardrobe for the most part, but I also like sometimes some more androgynous pieces.
Yeah.
Thinking about some other red carpet looks, and especially going back to like my love of BTS and Saint Laurent, there were two moments, I think they were both in 2017, like sort of when BTS was first appearing at Western award shows. So this, for instance, is when they were at the AMAs, and this is a Saint Laurent look.
Ooh.
And so you do see the same sort of like that muted color palette, but with a few pops here and there. The jackets that are really giving a lot of personality and different accessories.
Jimin looks so cute.
So cute, right?
He's really proud of his outfit. I'm proud of him too. I really do love the metallic bomber. That's really cool. Especially because a lot of the rest of it is very muted. Of course, you do get some like muted metallics, like gunmetal buttons and the belt buckles as well. Of course, you have J-Hope's hair.
Yeah.
Is that considered a pop of color if it's just your hair? Dress to your advantage.
It's all part of the look.
Yes, definitely.
And then even before that, but the same year, when they were at the Billboard Music Awards for the first time in 2017, I think a lot of, I don't know if every one of these pieces is Saint Laurent, but certainly a lot of them are. And you do have that same sort of pattern of like, you know, obviously the variation on a theme, the sort of modern suiting here and there, the use of jackets. So I love all of these looks.
It makes people curious. Like I always say to my friends and my family, like media is a gateway to learning. And if this piques the interest in like a fan who's not so familiar, or they want to look into the culture, I think that that's really a win for expanding your horizons, expanding your repertoire of fashion as well. Being able to develop some jargon and some lingo and some vocabulary in other cultures' clothing items and aesthetic.
Right. And obviously it's not just the clothing, you know, it's reflecting what they're saying in the music too, and they're using traditional instruments or sampling things. I mean, there are a few different now examples of this in BTS's music and in their performance. Dang is definitely one of them. Their costumes when they were performing Dang during the Festa of 2018.
Anything else that we want to look at?
I mean, that actually covered a lot of
we
what
covered.
I thought.
We covered everything. There's
don't know
like a
about
million
everything.
tabs open.
We covered pretty much all the tabs I had open. Obviously, there are so many interesting fashion moments from BTS. We didn't cover as much, you know, personal style, sort of like off-duty, off-stage sort of looks.
Yeah, that would be like an episode for each one of them. This would be
That's
a long.
like-
this would be a long series.
Yeah, it would really
There's
be a lot, and
Yeah.
like I'm not as much of an expert on like that sort of stuff, but you know, maybe it would be interesting to hear like in the comments, like were there other BTS fashion moments that are your favorite? What did you think about our analysis?
Really, their quality and their devotion to their fans, the ARMY, is quite amazing. They had a live stream concert, which was kind of funny for for the first time in several years. My sister and I are at home together, and because of the time difference, she was watching this virtual concert at like 5 in the morning. So sometime around 6, I
didn't know.
No, it's okay. Like I was like half asleep. I should have texted you or something. But I heard my sister from the other room like singing all of Boy with Love, and I kind of just woke up to it. And she sounded so happy. She sounded so happy. I didn't want to text her to shut up.
I'm still sorry I woke you up.
It's all in the past now. It's all for the glory of BTS. Do you have anything that you want to shout out? Your personal blog, your Twitter?
That's a good question.
Yeah, let's show my sister some love.
Yes. Well, okay. I have a Twitter account that's just for my BTS fangirling.
What's your handle?
It's call me _ Bepse.
I'm gonna put it on the screen as well.
So that's my fan account.
What about your professional blog?
Right. So my website where I write, actually I do write about BTS on my website. Mostly more psychology stuff, but definitely all into the analytical sort of dissecting BTS's message, how they achieve their influence and things like that. So that is on sydneyrubin.org.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for making my first guest appearance on my channel. Thank you all so much for watching. Welcome, ARMY. I'm sure I'm getting some new viewers because of ARMY, and I appreciate you and I love you. So anyway, this has been Sasha on Style. I'm Sasha.
I'm Sydney.
And thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next time. 안녕히 가세요.
안녕.